Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video lecture, I'm continuing my discussion on storage vessels. This will be part 4 of my discussion, and in this I'll be talking about design of storage vessels. Rather, I'll be starting my discussion on design of storage vessels, and this will be an introductory video lecture on the design of storage tanks. In my earlier videos on storage vessels, in part 1 was an introductory video on uh, storage tanks that are used in chemical industries. Part 2, in part 2, I had discussed various categories of vessels, various categories of storage vessels that are used in chemical industries. And in part 3, I discussed various losses associated with storing of liquids in storage tanks. Now in part 4, I am starting my discussion on design of storage tanks, and this will be an introduction to the design procedure, and in my coming videos I'll be discussing the design procedure in detail. So let me start my discussion for today for this lecture. So basically I will be covering design of vertical tanks. Design of vertical tanks that are made of mild steel, that have conical roof, fixed conical roofs, that have flat bottoms, and that are erected above the ground. So I'll be talking about design of vertical tanks with these features. Material of construction for that is mild steel. You have fixed conical roof, flat bottom, and those vertical cylindrical tanks are erected above the ground. So construction features or design and construction features for this tanks, you can find them in these codes: Indian Standard 803, British Standard 2654, API Standard 650. So construction features, design procedure for vertical cylindrical tanks with these features, uh, those are given in these standards. So you can refer if you want the standards to know more about the design procedure. Now for design purpose, storage tanks, for design purpose, these vertical cylindrical tanks are placed into three categories. The vertical cylindrical tanks, they are placed into three categories. This is different from the categories which I had earlier discussed in my earlier videos. That was categorization based on what is stored in the vessels, like storage vessels for non-volatile liquids, storage vessels for volatile liquids, storage vessels for gases. But now over here, the vertical cylindrical tanks whose design I'm going to discuss, these vertical cylindrical tanks for design purpose, they are placed into three categories. What are these three categories? Let me tell you. These three categories. In first category, you have storage tanks that are designed to withstand nominal pressures or vacuum. To be more specific, these tanks will be designed to withstand an internal pressure up to 75 mm water gauge and a vacuum up to 25 mm water gauge. So these are designed to withstand low pressures. That's why they are designated as non-pressure tank. What is the meaning of that? The meaning is, in their design procedure, internal pressure or vacuum will not be considered. That's why they are designated as non-pressure tanks. Then second category of tanks are designed to withstand small pressures or vacuum. There are two subcategories in this. The first one is, you have class A vessels that are designed to withstand an internal pressure up to 200 mm water gauge and a vacuum up to 65 mm water gauge. So that means while designing class A vessels, internal pressure has to be considered. Then the other subcategory for this is class B vessels, which are designed to withstand an internal pressure up to 550 mm water gauge and vacuum up to 65 mm water gauge. So again, while designing class B vessels, you have to consider the internal pressure. And third category includes open tanks. Design of open tanks I am not going to discuss. I'll be discussing design of the first two categories: non-pressure tanks, class A vessels and class B vessels. Okay, so for design purpose you have these three categories: vertical cylindrical tanks designed to withstand nominal pressures or vacuum. These will be non-pressure tanks, or these are designated as non-pressure tanks. Then vertical cylindrical tanks that are designed to withstand small pressures or vacuum, and you have two subcategories in that: class A vessels for 200 mm water gauge, 65 mm water gauge vacuum; class B vessels, an internal pressure up to 550 mm water gauge and vacuum up to 65 mm water gauge. Third category has open tanks in it, and we are not going to discuss, or rather I will not be discussing in my video lecture about the third category, that is open tanks. Okay, now let us understand the design task. What is the task? What are you going to do when you design a vertical cylindrical tank? A vertical cylindrical tank made of mild steel, having fixed conical roof, having flat bottom, and that is erected above the ground. So first task would be design of the shell. The first task will be design of the shell, and while designing the shell you need to consider both internal and external loadings. In order to have an effective design for the shell, we need to consider both internal and external loading. Then uh, I'll be discussing design of fixed conical roof, and under that I will be covering the fixed conical roof. It may be self-supporting conical roof, or it may be a column supported conical roof. So I will concentrate on design of self-supporting conical roof and briefly discuss the design for column supported conical roof. Then I'll be talking about design of the bottom for the storage tank. So that will be a flat bottom, and this bottom, it may be made to rest directly on the ground, or it may be resting on supporting beams or columns. So if a clearance space is required, so if you have a storage vessel and this is the ground, so if you need to have a clearance spacing between the bottom of the tank and the ground, in that case the storage vessel may have to be supported on columns or beams. So that also I'll be discussing. So in my coming videos I'll be discussing design of shell. One video lecture will be dedicated to design of the shell. Another video lecture will be dedicated to design of conical roof, and a separate video lecture will be devoted to design of bottom. So in my coming video lectures I'll be talking about this design task. So in this short video I have introduced design procedure, the design task of the task of designing storage vessels to you. Thank you for being with me in this short video, and be with me in my coming videos where I'll be discussing all this design tasks. For time being, thanks for watching my video. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Ask your friends to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be with me for uh, various aspects. Be with me for watching videos on various aspects of chemical engineering. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.